Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday Facebook Live. And today I'm going to be speaking about finding your audience for anything that you're trying to sell. So, when you sell something, you need to target your language, whether you're speaking or you're writing, let's say on a sales page or an email. You need to target that to a specific audience that's going to be perfect for what you're offering, right? Now, a lot of people, coaches, for example, and consultants, they want to be very specific about who their clients are. And so they'll do something that's called qualifying your audience. And they'll say something like, this is for coaches who are already making six figures, something like that. And obviously, when you do that, you're narrowing down your audience a lot because most coaches don't make six figures yet. But that doesn't mean it can't work. I know people who do that very well, but you have to work harder to find those people because it's a smaller group of people. So another approach is to go a little bit wider and meet people where they are, and instead, let's say, try to bring people up to 100,000. And there are a lot of people who do that as well. Who get to six figures is a refrain that you hear very often. And so, in that way, you're targeting the larger group of, let's say, coaches or online entrepreneurs who haven't made six figures yet, but you're going to help them get there. And that you might even want to start with beginners. I know people who focus on beginners who are not even making five figures yet. Okay, so they're making just a couple of $1,000s or something like that. Don't really have a stream of income. They don't have a business that's working really well. And they bring those people up to five figures. And then maybe after that to six figures. Five figures meaning like 10,000 and a year, and six figures would be 100,000 a year. So the point is that you have to decide which audience you're going to target and what makes most sense for you. So what makes most sense for you is partly where your expertise is. So if your expertise is on systems, let's say, kind of like marketing systems and delivery systems and human resources systems, those are usually for people who are more advanced. And so you really do want to, what you're going to offer is not going to apply to people who aren't making even $10,000 yet, but they're just not really thinking about that at all yet. Maybe they should be, but they're not yet. They're still trying to figure out how to sell my first thing. And so it depends on your expertise and what you want to sell. But if you can, even though people always say, narrow your niche, very often it can hurt you if you're too narrow. Now, there are two different ways of being narrow, okay? So one way of being narrow is to say, I only want to speak to people already making $100,000. But another way of being narrow is I'm going to speak to coaches and consultants, or I'm going to speak to course creators, or you're narrowing the type of person, but you might be willing to do something for beginners and intermediates and advanced. And you might have different programs for that. So you might start off with a workshop that is for beginners, but let's say you're only focusing on course creators. And so you're going to help them create their course, okay? Or something like that. Or you might even go before that, which is actually valuable, and you're going to help them figure out what their course is about and who their target market is and what their message should be and how they're going to build an audience, but even before they start creating their course. So all of that would work for beginners, but you're only working for course creators, you see. So it's narrow, but yet it covers a wide range of people in that narrow niche. So in other words, you can kind of go narrow vertically and narrow horizontally. There's different ways of doing it. It's sort of like if you sell insurance or something like that. You might want to sell it to everybody, but you might want to sell it only to small businesses, or you might want to focus on contractors like roofers and plumbers and electricians, or you might want to focus on small individual doctors and dentists and chiropractors. You see how the niche can be narrow, but yet you might want to cover a wide range in that narrow group. There are some businesses that work well wide. So, obviously things that we see on television, like cars or cleaning supplies or whatever, are things that they're going to sell to a very wide range of people. But usually in an online business, you need to narrow it somewhat. But there are just different ways of dicing and slicing it. And if you already have an audience, it really helps to meet them where they are. And so you might want to have gotten people on your list who are already somewhat successful, so you can help them with that more high-end support. But if that's not who's there, then meet them where they are. Help them get to where they are. So an example for me would be, I help people with email marketing, but if they don't even have a free offer or a list at all yet, I need to help them with that beginning part so that they can start actually doing email marketing and making money with it. So just think about your audience and where they are. Now, how do you find out where they are? Generally, you would do that with a survey. So I'm doing a survey right now. Why don't you have more subscribers is the name of it. And then that helps them understand, but it also helps me understand where they are now and what services I have to give them. So I hope that helps. When you want to try to find your audience, think about who you want to serve, but also think about your current audience and where they're at now and how you can bring them up to the level of where you might want to be, and how you might want to narrow your niche, again, by not excluding people who are just starting out, but maybe with a certain segment. It's called a segment, like something like you're only serving plumbers or something like that. That would be a segment of the economy, but you could serve ones that are just starting out and ones that have been doing it for a long time. So again, there are different ways of narrowing your audience. You don't have to go very narrow. You can go a little broader and see what happens. You need to test this and see what people respond to. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Bye-bye.